Today we're going to be reviewing Unit 6. So we're going to be talking about exponential functions. So let's take a look at what exponential functions look like. So first of all, for number 1, you need to graph that. So when we have something raised to the exponents, what we typically did is we did 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the x-coordinate. And then we went and we plugged in each of those for x. So in my calculator, I typed in 4 to the 0 power. Remember, anything to the 0 power is always 1. And then I typed in 4 to the first power. Well, that's going to just be 4. And then I typed in 4 squared. That's 16. And then you get 64. And then you get 256. So your y-intercept is always when your x is equal to 0. So my y-intercept for that equation is 1. So I'm going over 0, up 1. And then I'm just going to plot as many of those points as I can. Going over 1, up 4. Over 2, up 16 is right here. So then I'm calculating that, or I'm graphing that, sorry, and that's going to go up here. And I want it to be off the graph before I get to 3. Now notice that I'm not crossing on the bottom. Remember, with exponential functions, we don't cross the x-axis. So let's take a look at exponential growth. So exponential growth takes the form y is equal to c times 1 plus r raised to the t power. C is going to represent your initial amount, what you're starting with, and it's also your y-intercept. R is your rate of change. Remember that you need to move the decimal left 2 places whenever you have a percent, and t is your time. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at setting this problem up. So we're starting off with 294,105. That is our starting value. That's our initial value. Since then, it has increased at an average rate of 8.5% per year. So we need to convert 8.5% into a decimal. So I move it left 2 places, and I get 0.085. So then I'm going to do 1 plus 0.085. Now, since we're just setting up the equation, we're going to have y equals, and that's going to be raised to the t power. So part B is where the more important part comes in, and part B is talking about actually using this. So we want to figure out how many females participated in sports in 2005. So now we're trying to figure out our t. So we need to figure out how many years passed from 1971 to 2005. So we can simply subtract 2005 minus 1971. Okay, and that gives us 34. So we have 294,105 times 1.085, and that's going to be raised to the 34 power because that's how many years have passed. Now remember, to raise something to your exponents on a calculator, you use the key that looks like half an arrow like that. So then you can just type this in your calculator. Now remember, when we're talking about living things and people, you don't want to have 0.6 of a person. You don't want to have a decimal of a person. So you need to make sure that you round. So go ahead and type that in your calculator so you can kind of see what you get. And then you get 4711004. And then you get that, and then we need people, okay, or females in sports. Either way, okay? So that is your final answer for part B. Now let's take a look at this compound interest stuff, okay? So there's the compound interest formula. A is equal to P times 1 plus R divided by N raised to the N times T. So let's go over what each of these would mean, and you can put that on the right side of your chart there. So if it's daily, that's going to be 365 days in a year. Come on, Miss Humbert. Oops. I'm really struggling. Leave me to my struggles, please. So that's going to be 365. Weekly, there's 52 weeks in a year. Monthly, there's 12 months in a year. Quarterly is splitting the year into 4 parts, so that's going to be 4. Semi-annually is 2, and annually is 1. I do suggest having that written on your cheat sheet somewhere because it will really help you to have that written down for when you go through and you're trying to remember what each of those numbers mean. That's just one less thing you have to worry about. So let's take a look at calculating out compound interest. So you're starting off and you have $300. Okay, so then you're doing 1 plus your rate, which is 0.035. And then you're taking that and you're dividing it by the number of times per year. Well, the number of times per year is usually ending in an ly. And semi-annually means 2 times per year. So then you're going to take and you raise that to the 2 times 22. Now, for the most part, you can plug all of this into your calculator at once. The only thing you have to do beforehand is multiply out your exponents. So everything else you can keep as is. In fact, you may not want to simplify in the parenthesis early because the earlier you round, the less accurate your answer is going to be. And 2 times 2 is 44. So you can go ahead and calculate all of that out, and you end up getting $643.63. Now, when you're talking about money, you round to 2 decimal points. So you take a look at the third decimal point, see if it's 5 or greater. If it's 5 or greater, round up. 4 or below, you're going to keep it the same. Now let's take a look at exponential decay. Exponential decay is the exact same as exponential growth, except that we're subtracting our rate instead of adding it. Okay, so all of the letters still mean the same thing, but the difference is that we're subtracting for exponential decay. So pause the video, take a second to get that written down. All right, so during the past several years, we're taking a look at the population of Campbell County, Kentucky, and it's decreasing. So we start and we have 88,647. So then we're going to do, and I notice that it says that it's decreasing. So that means I need to use exponential decay. If it implies going down, I use decay. If it implies growing, I use growth. So then it's going down 0.3% per year. I don't care if the percent is actually a decimal. You still need to convert it to a decimal from the percent. So my rate is actually 0.003. So that is what I'm subtracting off. And then you're going to raise that to the 213th. Or 2013. So we need to figure out how many years pass between 2000 and 2013. And that's going to be 13 years. So now you can go ahead and plug this into your calculator. Again, here we are talking about people. So when you plug it into your calculator, here's what you get. If we want to take a look at our decimal, please don't write this as your answer. I don't want to know what 0.32 of a person is. Well, since this number is below 5, I can just take this number. So the population is going to be 85,251 people in 2013. So that right there is your final answer for number 4, and that concludes your note video. Again, no Schoology quiz today. Thanks for listening.